In the old days, local councils ran pretty much all local bus companies until deregulation and the privatisation boom of the 1980s. That led to issues over timetables and ticketing between many different operating companies and non-profit-making routes, often in rural areas, being dropped, leaving bus passengers at the mercy of the drive for profit. Now there's a move for councils to take back more control, with the Bus Services Bill currently going through Parliament. The bill gives local councils greater powers to set routes for bus operators to run, to decide on fare levels and the introduction of smart ticketing and other innovations for passengers. In Dorset, some innovations contained in the bill are already in place.
We've now issued smart tickets to all of our school children, so we now know when they use the bus and when they don't use the bus. That gives us the opportunity of saying, well, there are additional spaces here, so other people can use those and purchase a season ticket.
This rapid transit scheme in Gosport is being hailed as a success of collaborative working. A £20 million project with buses bypassing traffic on congested roads by using a former railway line donated by the council.
Passenger growth has been phenomenal. Just in the last 2 years alone, we've seen 17% more people travelling. But the real important thing about it is that the people that use that service, 20% of them used to use their car, and they're now using the bus.
That's all well and good in the towns and cities, but what about elsewhere? Here in Bridport, there's no shortage of buses serving the towns and conurbations east and west of here. But as with much of the countryside, out in the rural villages, it's a very different story.
So this is where the bus stops.
Yeah. And for some, the Bus Services Bill isn't going to solve the problem of councils cutting bus subsidies.
The bus network is really in its death throes. There's another £1 million due to be cut from it within the next few months. If you live in a village, you are absolutely stymied. In Bradpole, here where I'm standing, the 73 is due to be cut. That's going to affect the ability of local children going to Powerstock School to get to school in the morning. It's going to affect the lives of hundreds of elderly people in the villages who rely on that bus to get to market at least twice a week.
For Ros and others, the 2 community bus schemes currently running in Dorset are inadequate.
If you look at what's happening in the health service at the moment, where GP surgeries in rural areas are likely to be closed and moved into community hubs in the towns, how are some of those elderly people in the villages who don't have access to their own transport going to be able to get to the doctor? So this is, it's a major issue. It's really important that we find ways of maintaining those bus services.
What Ros wants is the local council to run its own bus company, as they do profitably in Reading. Problem is, there's a clause in the bus bill which prevents any new scheme like that. So inevitably, some communities will slip through the net.
Well, it might have been the solution had you got sufficient funds to be able to set it up in the first place. The difficulty that we have is that we don't have those depth of funds in order to do that. Had we set up a private bus company some years ago, then we'd be in a different situation, as is Reading. But we are not Reading. We have to cut our cloth according to the amount of money we have.
To try and resolve it, the council will match fund up to £5,000 for communities to set up their own rent-a-bus schemes. London's solution? The Mayor's office already has the power to dictate to bus companies which services to run and when. So is that the ticket across the board?
We have concerns over franchising, as we believe that the private sector working in partnership is the best way forward. It allows private sector operators to innovate and do things like has happened in other parts of the south here in terms of bus rapid transit. And taking that a further step forward, we've seen passenger growth where really strong partnership works. That has to say that it's the right thing to do.
Rural MPs can expect to be lobbied hard when the bill goes to the Commons in the new year. But for some, the Bus Services Bill is not the sort of fare they wanted served up for Christmas.